Alright, so we're finally talking about 2017 Spider-Man, the worst Spider-Man show yet. It was bound to happen. But before we get into season 1, I have to address something. Take a look at this picture. What do you notice? I showed my mom this photo a few years ago, and she thought this was a show that came out in the 80s, not 2017. This show is so bad it looks unfinished. Say what you want about Ultimate Spider-Man, but you can agree that the animation here is such a downgrade from Ultimate. And that's just it about this series. It's just bland. Like, Spectacular stands out, 1994 stands out, Ultimate even stands out. Every Spider-Man show has something that makes it memorable. But this one almost doesn't. It's just there. But anyway, let's talk about Season 1. Season 1 begins with Peter wanting to attend Horizon High, a prestigious science school that he can't afford, but when Spencer Smythe sabotages a machine, Peter steps in, fixes it, and impresses Horizon's director, Max Modell. We also get our first Spider-Man villain, Vulture. What the heck is this? Yeah, the character designs in this show are disgraceful. Vulture looks like a punk from Lasertag. Iron Man looks like a rejected Phase 5 MCU suit. Rhino has hair. And Kraven looks like Danny Trejo! And while yes, there are a few decent designs here and there, but in all honesty, Spider-Man is probably the only character who consistently looks pretty good. But with Peter accepted into Horizon, he's no longer the smartest person in the room, and that's one of my biggest problems with this show. Spider-Man is supposed to be incredibly intelligent. This series has a few moments that remind you of that, maybe twice. The rest of the time, he needs help from everyone. Seriously, like, consistently. He relies on Miles, Gwen, Anya, even Flash Thompson gets to have his own genius moment. Flash Thompson! Harry's even a genius too. He's the only one who constantly hates Spider-Man, argues with everyone, and he is just really annoying. We don't even have J. Jonah Jameson around yet. And making everyone around Peter a genius doesn't make Peter look smarter, it just makes him feel less special. And honestly, that feels almost like a disservice to the character. But as for the actual story of this show, a good chunk of the season focuses on Peter's life at Horizon. Norman Osborn creates a rival school called Oz Academy. Eventually we get to see a Venom storyline. The black suit gets some build up. We actually first see the black suit in a Sandman episode, and oh, you're gonna love this. So Sandman's daughter gets caught in the same accident that transformed him, turning her into Sand Girl. She blames her father because his life of crime caused all this. Now, yes, it was Sandman's fault for bringing her there, but she also walked into the experiment herself. Then she willingly becomes a criminal working for Hammerhead, the exact same guy who caused the accident that turned her into Sand Girl in the first place. And of course, she's a genius, so she builds weapons for Hammerhead and kills Sandman. What the actual heck? The Avengers are also awkwardly forced into this show, yet somehow never actually show up when they're needed. But then Venom himself shows up just out of nowhere, to be honest. Like, he just feels completely random. Actually, to be honest, a lot of things that happen in the show just feel random. Miles becomes Spider-Man by around episode 10, then we immediately jump into Spider Island, where everyone gets spider powers and mutates into giant spider monsters. Now, Spider Island, actually, that is a pretty cool storyline idea, but from what I hear, it's supposed to happen much later in Spider-Man's career, which, again, that makes sense, because that does feel like something that would happen, like, later on down the line, not just early on. Same thing goes for Miles Morales becoming Spider-Man. That's something that also should happen later in Peter's career. This show just keeps pulling major comic book storylines into this show way too early. It's almost like the showrunners are just, like, picking and choosing through different Spider-Man storylines and just figuring out which one sounds the best. And you know what else? Norman actually tries to stop Spider Island by stealing a suit and refusing to explain anything, or just talk in general. Like, instead of just telling Spider-Man, hey, I'm trying to stop a virus from turning everyone into monsters, you know, using words, he just does it without saying a thing and looks like the bad guy. So, yeah, great job. Then Gwen becomes Spider-Gwen, but decides she doesn't need a secret identity, even though we literally had an episode explaining why secret identities are so important. Eventually, everyone turns into spider monsters. They need Spider-Man's blood to cure the city, and Peter has to reveal his identity to Harry. And of course, Harry completely loses it. They save New York, but half of Oscorp explodes, making Harry angry. Again. Doc Ock then forms the Sinister Five and mind controls Spider-Man into becoming the sixth member. I should also point out that most of these villains are basically children. Actually, you know what? This show actually has an alarming number of teenagers just being trusted with all this very dangerous technology. Like, are their parents even aware of this? Anyway, Harry becomes the Hobgoblin. I've literally seen cosplayers make better costumes. Harry barely even fights Spider-Man, might add, but whatever. He frees Spider-Man from the mind control. The two eventually team up, then Harry starts suddenly attacking Spider-Man, and of course, it was Norman all along. Harry finally becomes useful, Norman is presumed dead, and somehow Harry ends up with Oscorp. Sure, yeah, let's just let a teenager run Oscorp. And just wait until you see what Season 2 brings. But first, I should talk about Robbie Daymond as Spider-Man. He's alright. He's obviously not Josh Keaton or Christopher Daniel Barnes, but I still like him. He's probably my 5th favorite Spider-Man voice actor. The problem isn't Robbie, it's the writing. Actually, you know what? I actually forgot to mention this earlier. One of Spider-Man's defining traits is that he's always talking, right? Always making jokes. If Spider-Man stops joking, you run, obviously. But the jokes in this show are just bad. I know Spider-Man can have bad jokes here and there, but this show is just bad. It's like they crank up the science genius dialogue so much that it just stops being funny and just becomes awkward. It's just so bad. Season 2 begins with Peter needing a way to pay for Horizon, which gives us J. Jonah Jameson. And okay, they actually did nail Jameson in this. Maybe Jameson's just immune to awful writing. They also make it where Peter needs to film videos of Spider-Man for the Bugle, so that's actually kind of a nice modern touch. Eddie Brock is here too. To be honest, there's actually nothing else to say, he's just there. Doc Ock returns claiming he's reformed, and naturally, nobody believes him. But after stopping Silver Sable and helping Rhino, that's apparently all it takes to earn everyone's trust. Gee, I wonder how long this is gonna last. Oh, yep, literally the next episode, wow, okay. Another fight breaks out, Otto loses his arms and just loses the battle, and ends up in a coma. Also, someone needs to tell me why Doc Ock sounds like this.
Why would you think that? I meant forgiveness. Was that not clear?
I mean, like, no disrespect to Scott Menville. He's an incredible voice actor. He's amazing as Robin, but why would you have him voice Doc Ock? Anyway, with Jameson around, everyone now hates Spider-Man. Also, remember Eddie? Well, he becomes Venom and immediately tries to kill Spider-Man, but here's the problem. Remember how Spectacular Spider-Man spent so much time building Eddie up as a character in some of the most genius writing I've ever seen in a cartoon? This show does not do that at all. He's just there. He's just there to be Venom. Venom is actually able to unmask Spider-Man in front of Jameson, but Peter and Miles manage to cover it up, so Peter still gets fired for being in, cahoots with Spider-Man, though. Here's another issue I have, actually. Miles is also just there, probably for the toys, which actually now makes this the second Spider-Man show in a row to completely waste the character. Now that Peter is out of a job, he needs another way to make money. But then a new villain, who sounds a lot like Robin, wink wink, puts a bounty on Spider-Man. Suddenly, every villain in New York is now after him, wearing Peter down. Then we're introduced to the Living Brain, who sounds a lot like Robin, wink wink, except it's actually being controlled by Doc Ock, and his plan? To swap minds with Spider-Man. That's right, we're getting the superior Spider-Man storyline. But just like Spider Island, this is happening way too early in Peter's career. Oh, and I should also probably mention that Anya becomes Spider-Girl after Spider Island by experimenting on herself. And remember how Gwen had powers as well? Well, she gets hit with this thing called the Blood Gem and suddenly gets her powers back. But how is she gliding? She's just opening her hoodie. So anyway, now she's Ghost Spider, wearing basically the exact same costume as before. How does nobody notice it's Gwen? Anyway, Otto ends up inside Peter's body and starts trying to be evil, but he keeps experiencing Peter's memories, which slowly change him into a hero, creating Superior Spider-Man. And with Otto being Spider-Man, he is much more aggressive than Peter, which Miles actually notices. He's finally becoming useful. But yeah, Otto as Peter starts acting rude to everyone, leaves Horizon, and returns to Midtown. Meanwhile, Peter's consciousness is trapped inside some kind of digital computer world? I don't know. With Miles' help, Peter tries confronting Otto as if that's gonna work. But then, oh my goodness, I hate this. Venom just randomly shows up without a host. I hate that. That just sounds so wrong to me. The symbiote is meant to have a host, like to survive, right? Since Otto can't defeat Venom, he lets Peter take his body back and sacrifices himself, but then we remember that he still has a body to return to, so yeah, he's okay. But we're still not done. Since Otto survives and is now genuinely good, he starts helping Spider-Man, including helping him defeat Slide. Wait. Spider-Man can't defeat Slide? So basically, Otto becomes the guy in the chair, but we all know he will never, ever, ever be as good as this legend right here. Then we're introduced to something called Goblin Nation and this Goblin King, and now everyone has to figure out who this new Goblin King is. And, oh my goodness, I hate what I'm about to say here. Spider-Girl and Spider-Gwen become convinced that it's Peter Parker. So because Peter acts a little strange and a little rude for a couple of days, you just immediately assume he's secretly the leader of goblins? Like, what are you talking about? Like have you forgotten literally everything he did for you in season 1? They're not even looking at the obvious suspects. Like Spider-Man's theory is Alistair Smythe, you know, the guy whose technology the goblins are actually using. That makes way more sense. And you know what they tell him? They tell Spider-Man that he's in denial.
You serious?
Harry finally returns after disappearing for a while, and we learn he's been building a machine that can hack anything it touches. How could that possibly not go wrong? Then we finally learn the identity of the Goblin King. Somebody no one would expect. A twist that would leave everyone speechless. The only possible choice. Norman Osborn. What the heck? They actually made Vulture the Goblin King! I'm depressed. So in the finale, Doc Ock actually sacrifices himself in full Disney fashion, like he literally turns into a pixie does. With Otto gone, though, we learn he signed a scholarship allowing Peter to return to Horizon, and suddenly everyone forgives Peter. Some friends. So, yeah. That season was something. We've only got one season left. Hopefully this one doesn't make me lose my mind. But actually, this season has a different title. This season is actually titled Maximum Venom. Okay. It only has 6 episodes, so maybe it won't be so bad. Spider-Man's suit looks a lot more like the PS4 suit, and Iron Man is... I hate this show. Everyone is starting to think about their future, but Peter still has no idea what he wants to do. Meanwhile, Max Modell is experimenting with a non-organic symbiote, and Kirk Connors is now teaching on Horizon. Then this insane robot dog that literally eats technology attacks, forcing Spider-Man to use the non-organic symbiote, and...
No!
I'm just done with these designs. I hate this. Spider-Man defeats the dog, Connors discovers what Max has been working on, and threatens to expose him. Then Venom attaches himself to Connors, well, half attaches. I don't know. Spider-Man chases him, loses the new suit, which honestly isn't much of a loss, and Venom spits Connors back out. I still hate that Venom doesn't have a host in this show. Like, it's just wrong to me. Before escaping, Venom plants a seed that'll signal the rest of the symbiotes. Remember that now. Spider-Man destroys Venom. Max ends up on trial before the school board, and then Baby Groot shows up. He has a message from Star-Lord, but it's all screwed up. Since nobody can understand Groot, that's kind of a problem. We also finally meet Mary Jane, and honestly, she's pretty good. She's not another super genius like everyone else in this show, and she's actually someone you could actually see Peter ending up with. Unfortunately, because it's this show, we barely get to see her. The whole episode actually just revolves around everyone trying to figure out Groot's message, and I'm sitting here thinking, couldn't Horizon just repair the recording? Like, it's just a tape. Like, and this is Horizon. They eventually discover the message where it's about symbiotes coming to Earth, and they've already infected the Avengers. Now let me just say, this is ridiculously rushed. Apparently, this is a huge event in the comics with a ton of heroes involved. Here, it's basically one episode, and Moon Knight is the only major hero who really shows up. He's also handled terribly. You could literally replace him with Punisher, and genuinely nothing would change at all. But whatever, New York gets cured, the episode ends, moving on. Meanwhile, everyone sides with Max against Connors. I really hate how Connors is treated basically like the bad guy here. But again, it's this show. I didn't even mention Dr. Connors' washed up surfer champ design. But anyway, Peter ends up revealing his identity to his friends, and Gwen and Anya are angry that he kept it a secret. They bring that up constantly. I'm sorry, weren't you two doing the exact same thing? And weren't you also the ones who accused Peter of secretly being the Goblin King last season? The next episode reveals that Norman is alive, and he becomes... What the heck is this? This is the worst Green Goblin design I have ever seen. Yes, even worse than The Amazing Spider-Man 2, at least in my opinion. But hold on, we get another brilliant decision. Swarm is revealed to be Miles' dad. I don't even need to get into how disrespectful that is to the character of Jefferson Davis. Like, what sick-minded human, what two-brain-celled human thought to approve this? Jefferson Davis is never a villain. Never. And then, surprise, surprise, Norman betrays Connors. Who could have possibly not seen that coming? Forget it. Norman gets defeated, Max returns to Horizon, everyone moves on. The school's preparing for a dance when it's suddenly revealed that Venom survived, bonded with Max, and now calls himself
Maximum Venom!
So Venom opens a portal to the symbiote homeworld, and we get Scream, Scorn, and Mania. Out of all the symbiotes you could have chosen, you picked the two most obscure ones. Scream's yellow is completely washed out. Scorn looks awful. Mania looks awful. You couldn't have used Riot or Null? Anyway, Venom tries to bring a symbiote dragon to Earth, but Max regains control long enough to destroy the seed along with Horizon High. Then, thanks to funding from Iron Man, Peter and his friends start their own technology company. Wait, are these people still teenagers? And what happened to Swarm? Or the Jackal subplot that I didn't even mention because I'm too lazy? You know what? You know what? Forget it. The show's over. The series is awful, it looks unfinished, the writing is terrible, and no, you can't use the excuse by saying it's just a kid's show. Spectacular Spider-Man was a kid's show, and the writing was fantastic. This show rushes characters into becoming villains before we've had time to care about them. It takes storylines that worked in Spectacular and tries to recreate them, only they're doing it so much worse. They somehow made Gwen Stacy annoying. Even Ultimate Spider-Man still felt like Spider-Man. Well, at least early on. It had its moments where it feels like Spider-Man. I've officially covered 2 legendary Spider-Man shows, 1 divisive one, and 1 complete disaster. But what should I cover next? Another Spider-Man cartoon? Or maybe another Marvel cartoon? Let me know. But what do you guys think? Did you actually enjoy this show? If so, that's great. I'm genuinely happy that, someone can watch this show and enjoy it. But before we end off this video, this date is actually the day I started this channel. And within 1 year, we reached 350 subscribers, which is insane. Thank you all so much for your support. The very fact that this amount of you find this channel worthy enough to be subscribed to is truly something I feel so happy to see. So once again, thank you, all of you, for your support. I also love being able to talk to you all. I've seen many supportive comments, and it's truly just so wonderful to see. Like, thank you all so much. That really just means a lot. I've been able to interact with so many funny and nice people, and I just thank you. Even the people who don't agree with some of my opinions. I just love how some of you are actually just willing to agree to disagree, and we can just voice our own opinions with respect for one another. So thank you, all of you, so very much. I cannot wait for what's next. Jesus loves you all. Thank you all so much for watching this video. YouTube thinks you like this video right up here the best. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you guys.